My name is Chris Yee, and I'm making a 3D puzzle platformer called Nectar. In the game, you play as a potted sunflower with its bumblebee companion, using nectar to grow plants, solve puzzles, and manipulate the world. Sort of. That is how I've been describing Nectar at the beginning of every devlog, but my game has been going through a bit of an identity crisis, and it's something I need to address. In this video, I will go over what that crisis is, and how I'm trying to redefine the tone of my game, and how it's perceived by other people. I know I've promised getting more into level design in these devlogs, but as it turns out, level design is pretty hard. Not that I expected it to be easy, but I've struggled to get past the blank canvas syndrome, and with so many other tasks to keep me busy, it's pretty easy to just procrastinate level design. I have been sketching out some layouts and brainstorming some ideas, but it's not enough to carry an entire devlog, so I don't have much to show there. I've been searching for videos and resources on how to broaden my knowledge of level design. It is surprisingly difficult to find advice on level design in general, and that is where the sponsor of this video, Skillshare, can help me immensely. I'm building Nectar in Unreal Engine 5, and Skillshare has a large library of classes specifically tailored to Unreal and building levels in Unreal. Not only that, Skillshare is the largest online learning community for all creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts across not just game development, but also film, illustration, graphic design, photography, music, marketing. Whether you're picking up a new hobby from scratch, or you're attempting to sharpen your existing skills, Skillshare has classes for beginners and experts alike. Skillshare has a learn by doing approach, which I have always believed is the best way to learn. Members can create and share projects after completing a class to get feedback from the community to improve their skills. I've taken an interest not only in their Unreal classes, but also their Blender classes for 3D modeling and texturing. This is a skill that I've been meaning to improve, and I'm excited to jump in. Click on the link in the description to join Skillshare and gain access to thousands of classes to boost your creative ambitions. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. So what is wrong with the identity of my game, and why am I having a crisis? In my last video, I talked about the structure of my world and asked people to leave suggestions regarding the structure of my world. I got a lot of cool ideas from that and things that I am definitely going to experiment with, but I also got a lot of people suggesting the old collectathon style game structure, similar to like Banjo-Kazooie. And while I love those types of games, I grew up playing those types of games and they hold a special place in my heart, Nectar is decidedly not that type of game. I never intended for it to be that type of game, but since people were suggesting it, it got me thinking, is this how people perceive Nectar? Is this the type of game they expect me to make? Something similar happened when I released my video about the design of the robots in my game. It was the first time I had revealed robots existed in the world of Nectar, and I think the reveal surprised a lot of people. Up until that point, I had shared only the plants and nature side of the game, and people were not expecting a science fiction angle, even though that was in my plans from the beginning. In addition to that, I've been putting more danger into my game. I've added a poison cloud that gradually damages the player when you walk through it, and I plan on adding more ways to damage the player, making the world of Nectar more dangerous. I struggled with adding things like these for a while because there was a cozy expectation that was forming in the comments of my videos. Some people seem to think that I'm making a cozy game, like A Short Hike, or Animal Crossing, or Stardew Valley, games that are meant to be comforting with little to no conflict. Many people have commented on the coziness of Nectar, and I understand where these expectations come from. The art style and themes that I've shown so far have a very cozy vibe, and while Nectar will have cozy aspects to it, it was never meant to be a cozy game. While I respect the cozy genre and I understand its appeal, personally I don't play them, and I would not do the genre justice if I attempted to make one. But seeing that expectation in the comments, I started to question my decisions. If the players expect cozy, am I making my game too difficult? That was the dialogue that was going on in my head, and it was starting to steer me away from certain features that I had always intended to put in the game. But now that I've realized this is happening, I want to steer back on course to what I originally wanted to make. I have a very clear idea of what I want Nectar to be, the type of game that it is, the tone that it will have, but the question is, am I accurately representing those ideas through my devlogs? There is a clear gap between what Nectar is in my head and what people expect Nectar to be, so I want to try to spend the rest of this video closing that gap, I want to attempt to more clearly define what Nectar is. So what is Nectar? Like I said at the beginning of every video, I say that Nectar is a 3D puzzle platformer where you play as a potted sunflower with its bumblebee companion, using nectar to grow plants, solve puzzles, and manipulate the world. This is all true, but it doesn't cover the entire picture. A more accurate description would be this. Nectar is a science fiction 3D puzzle platformer with knowledge-based progression inspired by games like Journey, Outer Wilds, Animal Well, and Tunic. You're dropped into a world of danger, tasked with the goal of reaching a tower in the distance. To achieve this goal and navigate the world, you must learn to manipulate the mysterious properties of a substance called nectar, and uncover a history of a robot race that once studied this substance, before a war with humans wiped them from existence. That is my brief elevator pitch. Let's break down what that means. The science fiction part was very surprising to people because most of my videos had only shown the plants and nature aspects of the world, so I want to make it clear that this is a science fiction game. As I've already said, there will be robots in the game, science fiction elements will be heavily present throughout the world, warp pads will be a thing in the game, and technology will play a heavy role in the storytelling and puzzles. The 3D puzzle platform part should be self-explanatory, but I want to put an extra emphasis on the puzzle part of that. The gameplay will have a very puzzle-centric loop. Platforming will be integrated into the puzzles, but this is not intended to be a traditional platformer like Mario or Banjo-Kazooie. The next part is knowledge-based progression. There have been a number of games coming out that have your progression in the game tied solely to your understanding of the world and the mechanics. Outer Wilds and Tunic are great examples of this. There are things you can do from the very start of the game, you just don't know that you can do them, and the only thing holding you back is your lack of understanding of how things work. These games progress the player by drip-feeding them knowledge about the world, and there are no locked abilities to keep them from moving forward. If you have the right knowledge, you can press forward with no artificial gates. This is what I want to do with Nectar. The Nectar substance in the game will be an enigma at first. You know there's something special about it, but you don't know the full potential of its utility. My plan is to teach the player about the substance through chat logs from the past. An extinct robot race was once studying nectar to take advantage of its special properties, and what they found is sprinkled through these chat logs. So as you discover these logs, you slowly learn what they learned, while unwrapping the history of war between robots and humans. And then the final aspect of my elevator pitch is the player's goal throughout the game. It's simple, you just need to reach the tower that looms in the distance. You don't initially know why that's your goal, but it's clear the tower is important and the world funnels you towards the tower. You navigate the world with the sole purpose of reaching the tower, and while I will try to encourage some exploration, all paths will eventually funnel back towards the tower. So that is what Nectar is, or what I intend it to be at least. I hope I was able to convey my vision and close the gap between my vision and your perception, even just a little bit. But the best way for me to figure that out is to just ask you. Usually I ask for a bunch of different things at the end of my videos, but this time, in the comments, describe to me what you think Nectar is. The genre, the tone, comparison games. This will help me get a better sense of how my game is being perceived so I can foster appropriate expectations. Thanks!